Tokyo Ghoul, written and illustrated by Sui Ishida, started back in 2011 in Weekly Young Jump. I remember when this first started, people mentioned that this may have been following the vampire trend in the early 2010s. I'm not too sure if that is the case, probably not, but I can see the similarities. It concludes in 14 volumes, and there was around a month or two break when the series continued as Tokyo Ghoul Re, which concluded in 16 volumes. However, today I'm just going to be talking about the Tokyo Ghoul series. And as always, I want to talk about the manga itself, which is actually a fair bit larger than your standard manga book that you get. This is just a copy of One Piece. Also, I want to know, possibly because it's bigger, or maybe they use different paper, it's actually a lot flimsier, which is great for when I want to open it quite wide. I'm not a big fan of opening my books really wide because I don't want to dent the spine. As you can see from this copy here of One Piece, it is demolished. But yeah, the paper is really nice. I'm not too sure if it's any different. So it's very flexible, so you can open it a lot wider. It's also got this nice, like, smooth, glossy, almost frost-like surface. So it's actually really quite nice to the touch. You obviously have a standard portrait of the main character. This is Ken Kaneki. We also have the title in English, and then once again we have it in Japanese. It's got a nice kanji there. We also have the initials T and G. So technically we have it 3 times almost on the front cover. And what I thought was maybe a blood spot. However, if you turn the book over, you see the city of Tokyo. I wasn't actually aware until I turn it sideways that this is the way you're supposed to look at Tokyo. And I always thought that Tokyo was just this little circle bit here, but that just shows my ignorance on Japanese geography. On the back, you also get a little picture which lasts for maybe the first 4 volumes. This one just shows Kaneki's eye patch. Let me just show you volume 2 here. This is Toka, who is a ghoul and a friend of Kaneki. She's also known as the Rabbit, and if you flip it over, you get a little illustration here of a rabbit. This doesn't have anything to do with the series itself, but it kind of just shows that, you know, she's connected to rabbits. And then on the inside, you get one nice color page, and there's a little illustration of Kaneki there. And on the inside, you get a little character profile. You don't get their year they were born, but you get their date of birth, their blood type, as you expect to be in Japanese. And that just continues throughout the rest of the volumes. So Tokyo Ghoul is a seinen action mystery series set in Tokyo, Japan, as you can imagine. It also has the horror tag attached to it, though it's not particularly scary. It does shock and thrill you, but a lot of genres do exactly that. However, what I would say the only reason you could add the horror tag is because of the amount of blood, violence, and gore that you'll see throughout this series. And despite it being in black and white, it does get a little unsettling at times. Now, because of the way the story is written, it's quite difficult to give an overview without spoiling too much. So for most part, the story points that I will be mentioning will be pretty vague. So in chapter 1, our main antagonist Ken Kaneki, an 18-year-old college student, turns half ghoul. And during the first 5 volumes, we watch his journey as he tries to find out where he belongs in the world and the reason why he was turned into a ghoul. Can he try and continue living his life as a human, or will he have to transfer over to spending more time with ghouls? Lucky for him, ghouls live among humans in secret. They look just like humans, they go to school, go to work. Some people even have best friends that are ghouls and they don't even know it. One of the main differences between humans and ghouls is that they can't eat human food and instead prey exclusively on humans as their only source of food. And as you can imagine, Ken's a little bit conflicted when it comes to eating his own kind. Mentally, he knows it's morally wrong and illegal, but the ghoul side of him knows that it's the only way that he can continue living. Most of the ghouls Kaneki meets are kind and caring and try and find more humane ways to find human flesh, as well as try to coexist with the humans themselves. Take Toka, for example. She works at the local coffee shop, secretly run by ghouls, studies to try and get into college, and in her spare time she teaches Kaneki how to defend himself against other hostile ghouls. Kaneki tries to understand the workings of ghouls and how they think, and he eventually starts to sympathize with them because at the end of the day, all they want to do is just live a normal life like everybody else. It's just unfortunate that the way that they continue living is by feeding off humans. But despite what the media says and tries to scaremonger everyone into fearing them. A lot of the ghouls have families and, they still work and earn their way and pay rent, just like everybody else. We see a lot of street fights between ghouls over feeding grounds and territories, but the main conflict that we see is between the ghouls and the CCG, a federal agency specializing in killing ghouls and ghoul research. Effectively, they are the ghoul police, the good guys who are protecting humans from being eaten. What makes this series a little bit more interesting is we don't just follow the footsteps of Kaneki the whole time, we also see the perspective of the CCG, specifically Kotaro Amon. He kind of works as the second protagonist, and we follow him and the CCG, and we get to understand the ghouls a little bit more and how they feel about ghouls in general. And this is where we start to learn a lot about how ghouls work, what's in their blood, what kind of drives them to feed on humans, and you start to understand their hatred for ghouls, and also you get a little bit of history of the CCG itself. You would expect to learn more about ghouls from the ghouls themselves, but in this case we learn it from the opposing team. So through these 5 volumes we get to learn about the ghouls through Kaneki, through the CCG, and for the most part Kaneki is completely lost in this new world. In the next 3 volumes, we're introduced to an evil ghoul organization. The next 4 volumes after that, Kaneki becomes somewhat of a detective and goes on like a rescue mission. And then the last 2 volumes, I won't spoil. As we progress through each volume, things get a lot more hectic through the narrative, the art design, Kaneki's mental health, but you can even see it through the volumes themselves. The more and more you go through, the crazier and crazier some of these volumes get. So I just want to talk about the art for a little bit, which gets a lot better as time goes on. Ishida clearly becomes more comfortable, especially with his screen tones. But throughout the volumes, the body proportions and faces can be a little bit inconsistent, even into the later volumes. One of the things I love about the art is the juxtaposition of the human scenes and the ghoul scenes. You'll find when the CCGs are around or the ghouls are talking calmly, things just seem a lot more bright. A lot of the paneling is very simple, just all squared off. But when the ghoul action happens, everything seems to shift. The panel shapes are always changing. Sometimes there isn't any paneling. You get darker screen tones. The atmosphere itself is pretty dark, but also the speech bubbles as well become black. Now, I guess it's a kind of a manga standard, as most of the ghoul scenes happen during fight sequences. But nonetheless, it kind of just intensifies the whole situation. And the last thing I want to talk about is Ishida and his ability to draw amazing clothes. He has amazing fashion sense and really picks up the perfect clothes to match the personality of each ghoul. The CCG members not so much, because for the most part they're just wearing suits and shirts and kind of the white jacket overall. Though there is one CCG member who does have a unique dress sense. Though I have praised the art, I do appreciate people's criticisms against the fight scenes, which can kind of be a bit chaotic. It's quite hard to see what's going on sometimes, but I think that just adds to the whole chaotic and hectic nature that's happening. Every character seems to be extremely important. Some only pop up a few times at the beginning, however they become really integral towards the end. And there's one other last note that I want to mention, and not many people seem to mention this in their review, but it is very dialogue heavy at times. The exposition can go on for pages and chapters with not really much happening. If you really only read action and shonen, or you're quite new to manga itself, this could be quite a deterrent. However, if you have watched the anime, I would definitely recommend picking up the manga, because the anime definitely missed out several plot points, making the whole story convoluted, but that's a completely different subject. I'd recommend this one to any action fan, or if you're a fan of mystery, or just in demons and supernatural in general. I guess you could put this under the fantasy category. However, it is set in the real world. I don't actually own Tokyo Re, so I'll be looking to pick that up soon, because I'm very eager to continue where I left off. If you have read Tokyo Ghoul, let me know who your favorite character is and what your favorite moments are. I'll be eager to know. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.